Hello, hello, and welcome to the Rock Metal Podcast. I'm your host, John Harris, and today we have Midnight City, who's actually back, because you guys, well, I talked to Shawn, you guys were on just before a Japanese tour, I remember.
That's some time back now. That was the end of 2019 then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, great to have you guys on, and I imagine a bit of that had to do with what happened last year, and is continuing to go on. But you guys have a new album coming out in May, Itch You Can't Scratch, via Roulette Records. And right now on the show, I'm being joined by Rob and Pete to share some more information about this release. So, boys, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Now, as we kind of open up with that Japanese tour, how did that go, by the way? And then what's happened since then? I mean, obviously, you guys couldn't keep touring because the world kind of shut down, but...
Well, the Japan thing was incredible. What rock bands dream of, playing in Japan. So that was a real sort of bucket list thing for all of us, and it was just an incredible experience to go out there, and the two shows we played were sold out, and the fans were just, it was sort of everything we expected it to be and 10 times more, you know what I mean? So that was an incredible experience. We were lucky to do that. And then we came back and we did a UK tour pretty much straight after that. And then that went into 2020, and we were lucky enough to go out to Australia in March, literally like a year ago, almost to the day. And we were lucky to get to do that right before everything sort of hit with the COVID thing. So sort of a week later, and that probably wouldn't have ended up happening, but that was also pretty amazing as well. We had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we get about a bit.
What were some of the highlights? Like, what would you take away from Japan that I think still lives with you today? And what would you take from Australia then that still lives with you today?
For me, I would take with me from Japan the culture and the people, because I think we're in a bit of a rat race over here. They're in their own rat race, but they're actually nicer. They're nicer to people in general. There's a lot less of a selfish culture there, and it's something that personally I'd like to see a lot more in the UK, and if not Europe and widespread, because they've got it right. They're very respectful to each other, and I think that's made them a very successful nation.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we enjoyed the beer as well. And the great thing about Australia was that we were situated. The hotel was right on pretty much not far from the beach in St Kilda. All the bars and stuff. So we had a great time. We had two shows in Australia, but we were actually there for I think just over a week. So we had plenty of time to mingle with the fans and get some sunshine, and it was completely different to Japan, but equally as enjoyable,
Mm-hmm. Does it surprise you guys to have fans around the world like that?
In one respect, yes, it does, because the outreach, even from the start, to be honest with you, was really quite unexpected. That even when we were doing little podcasts from the studio when we started recording the album, it attracted so much attention even then, and it was the start of the momentum. But on the other side of the coin, we actually believe in what we do. So I'd like to say at the end of that, it's no surprise, because I feel like we're offering something that people have been asking for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think to add to that, Pete's bang on. I think what we're doing is, it's a style of music and a brand of music that was so big, back in the day, and people still absolutely love that kind of music. And there's so many people that either grew up on it that are kind of reliving their youth, or people, you know, maybe like yourself that you've got a little sort of guilty pleasure for, you know, Dokken and Rat and bands like that. I know loads of guys who just have, you know, a few bands that they like from that genre of music, and there's, you know, for that kind of music, I think we're just hitting the nail on the head with it. You know what I mean? We're kind of like we're bringing all that music back, and I think that's why people really connect with it. You know.
Mm-hmm. How do you do that? Do you have to get into a certain mind frame to do that, or does it just come naturally?
Oh, for me, it's pretty natural for me, because I'm just like I still walk around like it's like I'm in LA and I'm in freezing cold Nottingham in England. I've just always been, you know, so into this music, you know, and I don't mind admitting it. The cheesier bands, the better, you know. So it's just really natural, you know. You start writing songs, it can't not come out like that, because that's really all I listen to. I'm kind of, you know, I listen to that stuff and pop music, you know. That's my thing. I'm not, you know, I don't really listen to anything other than that. So it just kind of comes out natural, I suppose.
Yeah. A healthy diet of Brittany Fox and Carly Rae Jepsen, and then
and Britney Spears.
Everybody's down at the girls' school. Now, one of the other things that I really like about this stuff too is it obviously has this, dare I say, 80s vibe, but from a production standpoint, it's a very modern recording, very modern mix, very modern master, which that I guess takes us, Pete, to your realm. How do you go about mixing this stuff?
To be honest with you, I going back to the original question, myself and Rob played in a band, a put together band for a festival, and myself and Rob discussed doing a hair metal band. How many years before was that, Rob? That was 2 years, probably.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah,
probably 2 years. That was the intention. Like Rob was still living in the 80s, and he brought me back to the 80s, which is still 10 years after my birthday, obviously. But with the production side of it, it's my influence as much as it's Rob's influence. But I've been taught by more modern day giants of production and recording, which means I'm able to bring something that's going to appeal not only to the people back then who liked it, but hopefully appeal to the people now that like it, which is potentially a slightly younger audience. So you get the mix. What I've tried to do with every album is get a mix of the old with the new, which is bringing the old into the modern day, which means I'm trying to future-proof our sound so it never sounds ridiculously old, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, production-wise, they did some things a little different back then, but I think something that really sticks out is the low end, and they were mixing back then for vinyl, so that makes a lot of sense. It's almost like if Rat were making an album today, you know, they wouldn't have those considerations. Guitars, they used a lot of room mics on guitars back then too. You know, which same thing for drums and whatnot. But your mix sounds a lot tighter than that.
Thanks very much. I appreciate that. And obviously, with the digital age, you can look at things. You can look at graphics, and you can say, okay, that's where my bass guitar sits. That's where my bass drum sits. You can separate it, which that's where you get the tightness of the low end. You can do the same in the mids. You can do the same, you know, when you scoop the guitar out, you scoop it at the frequencies where you want to hear your snare, you want to hear your toms, you know, and you go up the spectrum so you can build it, but you can actually the luxury that we have in the modern day is not only do we have our ears, we probably have our eyes as well, you know, and we also have the development of technique, which, you know, I'm grateful to. I spoke to you beforehand about people like Harry Hess, Dennis Ward. They're both people who I look up to in the mixing and the mastering world, because I learnt from great people. And even now I still listen to vibes from albums going on in the 80s, so I don't miss what I'm trying to create.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Get your flanger ready.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The phaser is always on standby.
Well, you mentioned Harry Hess, and that was initially our connection in the beginning was, you know, hey, out in T-Dot, we had this guy master our record. You might have heard of him. T-Dot is another term for Toronto, and I just realized I threw that one out there.
Okay.
Yeah. T-O, T-Dot, Toronto. Why him?
So I've played in bands, been on that circuit where I've spent a lot of time with Harry and Harum Scarum, and we got into a conversation where I said, I've started to mix, and he said, well, I've started to master. So, you know, we've kept in touch and been very friendly for probably the best part of 10 years. So a growing relationship and a man bond, if you like, has was started up, and it goes back. The first album that he mastered for me was the first professional mix that I did, which was the In Faith album. Mm-hmm. And he's the only place I go to, and we're very, very good friends. We spend a lot of time doing FaceTime calls about nothing about music at all, just laughing and taking the mickey about the world. But yeah, I wouldn't go anywhere else. And, you know, he's always really accommodating. If there's things that I'm not happy with, we revise until it's perfect. An example is that There Goes the Neighbourhood was mastered 3 times before we were happy.
Wow.
So, and, you know, the results speak for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the guy is really good at what he does. His personality tells you that no job is too small or too big to do. He will always accommodate you. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's a great working relationship and a great friendship between myself and Harry and the band.
Yeah, makes sense. We could go down that rabbit hole, but it's about this record. It's about an itch you can't scratch. So let's chat about Itch You Can't Scratch. These 2 singles, we chatted about this briefly in the intro because I have not had the chance to hear the album, but these 2 singles, Crawlin In The Dirt and Atomic, come across to me as a departure from the last album, a little bit heavier, maybe a little bit more. I was trying to think of like a band comparison, but just a heavier tune. And you guys said we did that on purpose as a curveball. So take us through Crawlin In The Dirt, where we have this music video of this girl doing some voodoo magic. It appears. And then Atomic, where we have this guy who's getting bored at his mixing desk with an RE20 in front of him.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said a little bit earlier, I mean, Crawlin In The Dirt has more of a sort of like a first album sort of Skid Row kind of type of sound to it, that kind of deal going on. Atomic's more of a Def Leppard type thing, and they are, you know, both those songs are, and there's another song on the album called Blame It On Your Loving, which is kind of a little bit heavier, a little bit sleazier. But I was saying this in an interview the other day, there's plenty of classic sounding Midnight City songs, you know, there's a couple of songs that sound like they could have been on the first album, and there's 2 big ballads on it. I mean, it's everything that we did on the first 2 albums, but bigger and better, you know what I mean? So Yeah, but in terms of the videos, the first video we just shot both videos were actually quite hard to do because obviously we were trying to film them during the COVID situation, so it wasn't that easy to actually find a venue and sort all that out and get together. But we basically hired a great venue in Wolverhampton called KK's Steel Mill, which is owned by KK from Judas Priest. And we just did a big sort of stage, high energy kind of performance thing with the pyros and everything. And I think it was actually Shawn, our keyboard player, who came up with the voodoo doll kind of idea, just to kind of add, a little bit of an extra story going on there. So we were really pleased with how that one turned out. And then the Atomic video we shot not that long ago, is maybe three weeks ago, something like that, 3-4 weeks ago. And again, that was actually Shawn's sort of concept. We left him, he came up with a concept of kind of a radio station takeover, a little bit like the movie Airheads, if you remember that movie from back in the day. So he kind of scripted out a whole video, and we left him to it. And that's the guy at the beginning. The DJ is actually our roadie. He's part of our road crew. The whole thing just came out great. But very much, that was Shawn's sort of baby. We sort of left him to it, and he between him and Elliot, the guy who directs our videos, we pretty much just showed up and did our thing, and they went away and put the whole thing together. So yeah, we're pretty happy. We actually only got the video back, I think it was 2 days ago. So, wow. But we're pretty happy with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can't be the Lone Rangers, because Lone Rangers is plural. Lone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Incidentally, what Rob said about Shawn and how he came up with concepts, we've basically, because myself and Rob do a lot of work behind the scenes for the band. Mm-hmm. Shawn, we've basically now, because of how well he's done, Shawn is now the video director. We have washed our hands of having anything to do with any videos now, because he knows what he's doing and he's really good at it,
I will say, Crawlin In The Dirt, I'm happy to see the red guitar. Atomic, I'm not seeing the red guitar. I'm a little upset.
Yeah, he used I think he used a flying V in the new one. Yeah, it was... I was trying something, and then Josh used a bass I'd never seen before in my life. I don't know where that bass came from, but he's using a completely different bass. But I think it was just to mix things up a little bit, So
yeah. I remember. I think it was when I was chatting with Shawn, something about the red guitar came up, and it's now like in steady use or whatever. But yeah, okay, I see it now. It's a flying V. Okay, I guess I'm okay. The keytar is there, so I'm okay.
What year were you born, John?
1985.
1985. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I caught the tail end of all of it right about when, if I have memories, it's kind of like 91, 92, where there was that crossfade between, Guns N' Roses and Nirvana kind of thing.
Yeah. It was in the dying moments of hair metal at that point.
Mm-hmm. But there's something about it, and as a guitar player learned how to play the guitar, there was definitely something about those pedal tones and the way they were able to get, I don't know, girls to shake or something that.
Yeah. Miles you'd have to get Miles on the show. Miles can talk to you about pedals and effects for 20 years.
Now,
really good.
Something that was brought up was on this album, it's everything we've done before, but bigger and better. So was there a goal in mind when you guys were sitting down to write this album? And kind of a slight follow-up is, did you have more time to work on this album as a result of the pandemic?
No, not really. I mean, we started, it's nuts to think, but we actually started recording this album in February of last year. We actually started recording before we went to Australia, and we were actually making sort of quite good progress before everything sort of happened, and then we kind of carried on a little bit, and then I think we just kind of, because nobody really, I think one of the main problems was at the time with what was going on was just nobody really knew what the hell was going on and how long it was going to last, and is it going to be a month, is it going to be 6 months, is it going to be 5 years? So we all just kind of like, I think we sort of took a little bit of a break in the middle of it and then sort of picked it up again in summer. But in terms of, I mean, I writing the songs and stuff, it wasn't, I didn't sit down and think, let's write some heavier songs. I just sort of, whatever sort of comes out natural, comes out. But I think in terms of how the overall sound of this album, turned out, I think we tried, a lot of different things. Well, Pete obviously did production-wise, and even Shawn using different keyboard sounds that he's used before. There's a lot of kind of we kind of thought outside the box a little bit more. And there are a couple of, there's a song on the album called "They Only Come Out at Night," which is like nothing we've ever done before. I've said it quite a few times, but it sounds like it could be on Lost Boys, the movie Lost Boys. Mm-hmm. And that was actually inspired by, I was just sat down watching it one night about 1.5 years ago and just thought, how great that soundtrack is for that album, with Cry Little Sister and all those songs. And I thought how cool it would be to kind of write a song like that, kind of along those lines. So that was one of the songs that was kind of a little bit different. But the rest, all came natural. But then obviously when, the songs are sent to the guys, everybody does their thing, and then in terms of production, that's all Pete's department. So So with that particular song, you've probably heard of Grim Reaper, John. Mm-hmm. So the intro for the song "They Only Come Out at Night" is actually Steve Grimmett. His grandchildren are actually doing a little chant at the beginning, believe it or not. And Steve Grimmett's son is actually a close friend of all of the guys in the band and helps the band on regular occasions. But it's definitely worth a hear when we're talking about production. It's got that spooky sort of kids in the playground type of feel, and it sets the tone from the off, doesn't it? Yeah, it probably sounds really weird, but when you hear the song, you'll be like, whoa, this is cool as hell. It really is. So that's definitely the most different song on the album. And like I said earlier, there's a couple of heavier songs, but there's plenty. There's so many, the typical sort of feel good time Midnight City songs on there as well. So, but I think when we started, we just, like every album, I think all we want to do is make a better album than the album before. That's it. I don't think we ever want to particularly, we don't want to drastically change our sound, but at the same time, I think on each album we want to add a few more sort of ingredients to it. So you're keeping your fan base, you're keeping your sound, but you're also sort of progressing as well. Rather than just kind of doing the same album time after time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you guys had added sub drops and 808s and things, it probably would be. Now
on Atomic, when you actually listen to Atomic, I'm not even joking. There's 2 sub drops in it.
Okay, I'll have to listen to it. Is it like to back up some Tom hits?
No, it's on its own. There's 2 big sub drops. So turn the fuck up.
All right, I'll do it. I will do that. Cool. Okay, so boys, we chatted about Crawlin in the Dirt and the music video and the scary girl who's poking needles into effigies. Atomic with the radio station takeover, similar to Airheads. Did he just wipe his ass with his record contract? And the album "Itch You Can't Scratch," and then Harry Hess doing the mastering, Pete doing a lot of mixing. Did you get Pete? Do you oversee recording as well, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
So normally the first two albums, everything was recorded here, including the bass guitar as well, wasn't it? So everything was recorded here. So we had the COVID situation, so we had to think again. So Rob recorded the first three songs here. And then because of how the world situation was and the mixing in households, Rob proceeded to record a lot of the stuff at a studio in Nottingham, and send to me to produce. And then when what would happen is Rob would record a demo, and then from the demo, I'd take all the individual stems and start the production, and then send it out to the guys with a deliberate direction of what I want from them, what I need to hear, specific parts, specific beat and bar numbers that I want an individual to do, A, B, or C. We went backwards and forwards on a lot of parts: guitar solos, keyboards, bass guitar. So actually, yeah, quite a different way of doing a full studio production. Very pleased, gotta say. We've got the end result, and it sounds massive. You know, the whole thing is as we all set it out to achieve it. So it's probably a way for the future. You know, really is. I think this whole world situation has changed the face of so much: the music industry, the recording industry, the live music industry. Most of the world is working from home if they can, you know. So we are in a different situation, and I think we need to embrace what we've just done as a real achievement. And I think it'll probably happen again the next time we record, because everybody knows how to do it now, you know.
Yeah, we did. It was weird because apart from, like Pete said, the first three that we recorded before everything hit, the rest of the album was recorded in 5 completely different studios, you know, and it was just a lot of this sort of FaceTiming and emails, but it worked, and you know, it's the best, by far our best sounding album, you know. So there's something in that. So, like I said, moving forward, I think that probably will be the way we'll continue to work.
Well, cool. All right, boys, is there anything that I missed that you wanted to chat about?
Ooh. No, not really. Well, thanks for having us on your show for a start, and make sure you obviously the album's coming out May 28th. We have a Japanese release May 26th. And we're hoping things are kind of, fingers crossed, looking a little bit more optimistic for shows from the summer onwards in the UK. Things are going to, fingers crossed, going to start opening up at the end of June. So we do actually have some shows in the UK. Sort of, we have hopefully a festival in July, and a tour in August, and a show at the end of the year, and then obviously rolling into next year, lots more shows. So unfortunately, no Canadian shows, but but look out! Yeah, we'd love to come over, but just keep an eye out. We also have a really cool label between. We got some really cool fans who set up an amazing Facebook page called the Midnight Army, which is just going from strength to strength. Absolute ton of people have joined that. There's like 900 members of it. And there's these cool little challenges that happen like every couple of weeks, and you know, if you complete the challenge, you win exclusive Midnight City prizes and stuff like that. So there's all that going on as well. So check that out as well.
Okay, beautiful. And then I'll put the link for the website, midnitecity.com, in the show notes for today. So I believe all of your guys' socials are there. So if you're on Facebook, you can definitely click the Facebook link and become a member of the Midnight Army. I'm a little jealous now, actually. Beautiful. Yeah, looking forward to hearing the full album when I get the chance. I'm going to probably annoy my wife a lot, but you know.
Do you have Has the label sent you an advance copy yet, John? Or
No, they haven't. People usually do, but Roulette did not.
okay, we'll sort that.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It'll be on your doorstep by Sunday morning.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, boys,
Well,
thank you so much for coming on to the Rock Metal Podcast today.
lovely
Thank
to
you,
meet you.
mate.
Thanks ever so much for having us as well.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.